interesting and a hard thing to hear because as farmers, we've all had those close calls, whether it be animal, tractor. I was just talking to a fellow outside. He were cutting trees, and once you drop the tree, the butt of the tree came and caught his leg between the stump and the tree. He had nowhere to go. Thank God it didn't do a lot of damage, but as the old saying goes, shit happens, and when shit happens really bad, it sometimes you end up like our next guest in a wheelchair, unfortunately. So I'd like to introduce Ed McGugan. He's going to let you know what happened to him.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I was actually kind of hoping for a smaller crowd. When you get up to say you did something stupid, a smaller crowd is better than a big crowd, I guess I'll give you a quick one. Was a farmer, not a farmer anymore. Grew up on a farm down Ilderton, Poplar Hill area, just to the west of London. Some of you may have heard of the Poplar Hill beef barbecue. It's been going on for, it's got to be 40 or 50 years now. I remember my dad barbecuing at that thing. It was a big deal down in that part of the country anyway. So I met my wife at college, and we got married and ended up out in Winnipeg. And I ended up working for Versatile Farm Equipment. Great place to work. It was pretty exciting working on that really big equipment. Really enjoyed that. And, Manitoba is a great place. Winnipeg's a great place. Really, really nice people. They have to be really nice because their weather is so bad. I just can't describe to you how cold minus 40 is. It's unbelievably cold. It hurts to breathe, and then it gets plus 40 in the summertime. So it's just as bad. So they're really good people because they have to be, And so we wanted to get back to the farm. So we came back to here to Ontario eventually, and we ended up buying the family farm. We bought the farm off of my wife's parents. Seems pretty small nowadays compared to what the things you hear. It was 200 acres and 40 cows. We thought we were certainly keeping busy enough, but it's pretty small compared to some of the things you see now. And everything was going good. We quite literally were living the dream. We really enjoyed it. It was going pretty good until a tragic accident killed a family member. And he got caught underneath the header of a combine, soybean header, and it killed him. And my dear wife had the dubious honor of going to tell her parents. And that was the hardest thing I've ever seen anybody have to do. She went and told her parents that their oldest son had died while farming. And we kind of took it upon ourselves to make some changes on our farm at that point in time, or shortly thereafter. And we did the whole Farm Safety Association safety audit. We audited everything we could think of and, put a second set of eyes on all the things that we were doing and reviewed a lot of different things. And I had a meeting here, maybe a month or so ago with a pre-start health and safety engineer on a piece of equipment at work. And he said some interesting things. He says a lot of things you can't make safe. A chainsaw you just can't make safe. A chainsaw is going to be a dangerous piece of equipment no matter what you do with it. So what you do is you address that with good training and good safety equipment. The personal protective equipment, the PPE. And you can deal with a lot of things that are inherently dangerous by good training and good equipment. So we kind of took that approach at the time as well. We tried to make sure that we did everything as safely as we could. And one particular thing that we did differently than what we'd done in the past is we realized that the loader tractor that we had a ROPS on it, or a rollover protective structure. Most tractors do. Loader tractors anyway. And but there was no seatbelt on that thing. We all, had read and seen that you're supposed to wear a seatbelt on a tractor with a ROPS, because if you don't, you could get caught between the ROPS and the ground in a rollover. And that happened to a guy not too far from Lucknow, where we farmed, and it killed him. Now, whether who knows the whole story? Nobody really knows other than him. But he got killed by this by not having a seatbelt on there, arguably. So one of the things that we did is we said, well, let's put a seatbelt on this loader tractor. And I went up to Walkerton there to Bruce Tractor at the time and ordered a seatbelt kit for this little loader tractor, and went to go pick it up, I don't know, a month later or so, and went to pay for it, and they said, no charge. I said, what are you talking about? There's got to be a charge for this thing. And they said, no, if you're going to put safety equipment on a tractor that was built without it, then we're not charging you for it. That was a pretty good deal, so sure enough, I put that seatbelt on that tractor. Well, we had one day where we were making pretty good time, and we were in the middle of haying season, and we used to be that, back in the early days, we had, small square bales, and I used to say if your back wasn't sore, you weren't working hard enough. That might be one of the dumbest things I've ever said. In retrospect, that wasn't all that smart of a thing to say, but that's just kind of what I was used to. Always had a sore back. Well, we went to 4x4 round bales. And any of you folks have ever had 4x4 rounds, you know that one of the advantages of them, they're a lot easier to handle than small squares, but they've got half the amount of hay in them that a regular good-sized round bale has got, which means you got twice as many of them out in the field. So we were collecting round bales of hay that day, and I had Bob Thompson from Ripley. He was coming to pick up a cattle beast we were shipping. And I think Bob was coming at 10 o'clock in the morning, and we got the chores done early, so we were out in the field collecting hay, and my wife was driving through the field with a big tractor, pulling a couple of fairly big steel wagons. And I could zip through the field with a loader tractor and collect round bales and load those wagons up and make really good time. And my wife pointed towards the barn because Bob had showed up a half an hour early, which I guess he was making good time too. So I lit off across the field. I was already moving pretty quick in that field, pretty smooth, fairly smooth hay field. I took off across that field pretty well in road gear to get out to the barn because I didn't want to make Bob wait. So sure enough, before I got to the edge of the field or the entranceway, I found that rut that I'd put in that field when I was seeding her down a couple of years before that. And I was going through a rut. You all know what it's like. You've gone through a rough spot or a bump or something like that with a loader tractor, how much noise that makes. It does a lot of bouncing and banging and clanging. Well, I went through that rut in road gear, and I had the seatbelt on. And the doctors later said that there's no way to really know for sure, but there's a pretty good chance I would have gone right off the back of that tractor. They don't know. I don't know, so who knows what really would have happened. All I know is right away as I went to shove the clutch pedal in to gear down a little bit, which is what I should have done earlier, and my left leg wouldn't work. And I thought, oh boy, this isn't saving me any time. So I got up to the barn, and I got as close to the barn as I could, and I pulled the fuel shut off and hit the loader into float, dropped the loader down to get me stopped. Kind of crawled along the loader and crawled along the barn, and Bob took about 3 minutes to load that cow, that steer actually. It took him about 3 minutes to load that animal. Well, I really didn't do much anything, so I was driving fast to save myself a few seconds, to save myself 3 minutes. Didn't really gain me anything. And I thought I could beat it. So it had to get the hay done, of course, because you couldn't go off to the doctor until you had the hay done. We did a little bit of time on your hands. So I got the hay done, and 6 weeks later, maybe a month later, got to the doctor, and he said, well, you really should have been here 6 weeks ago. And he says, but all you farmers are like that. He says, you really should be getting here, right away, not after you get the hay done. So we did the whole round of orthopedic surgeons and the doctors and specialists, back specialists and all the rest. And I ended up coming out of, Mount Hope and Parkwood and all the rest, and I figured I could beat it. I could do all the exercises they said, do everything that they said I was supposed to do, and work really hard at it, and I could get this to work. And it just got worse and worse and worse. And they said, well, you damaged your spine, you damaged the discs, damaged the vertebrae, and it's not coming back. Maybe if you're 25, you might have got away with it. But at 45, you don't. So what we did is we made some changes, and we eventually sold the cows and sold the farm, built a house beside my wife's parents, which worked out pretty good because they were getting pretty old, so we were there to help them out. That was a pretty good time. And I got out of places like, different appointments at Mount Hope and Parkwood, and I kind of felt like $1,000,000. If you've ever been in some of those places, you see how bad some people have got it. And I decided that, you know what, I could be in a lot worse shape than what I am. So I decided to kind of shift gears and do something different. I went back to work and kind of got my own business going, and eventually got a job. The old Coverall Buildings went bankrupt, and one of the guys who did Coverall Buildings here in Ontario started up his own company, and he asked me to come give him a hand. So I've been with Brightspan Buildings for about 8 years now, and that's been quite a ride. Started with 6 people, and we're up to about 100 now. It's kept me pretty busy. Went and did something even dumber, possibly, arguably. A couple of years ago, went and got myself elected to council for here in Kinloss. So now I got all that work being on council, not much money, lots of work, kind of like farming, in a way. But I learned a lot, and it's been good. And I look at it from the standpoint of trying to serve my community by being on council, and maybe somebody with a bit of farming experience, and it will be good for the council and good for the residents of the township. So I guess if you really get down to the end of it, I really want to be able to leave you with 2 things. Last year when somebody asked me, can you come and do this kind of thing? My initial reaction was yes. And later on over the months, I was thinking, are you sure you really want to do that? That's like getting up in front of everybody and telling them how dumb you were. And, it doesn't take much. We've all been there. We've all done things that after the fact, we got away with it. And I really can't complain. I'm a lot better shape than some people are, a lot better shape than my brother-in-law certainly was. And the key thing that I would say, though, is slow down. Going fast never makes you faster. And I'm notorious at work now. I get these young people working around me, and I keep telling them never to miss an opportunity to slow down and get it right. And because I've seen lots of mistakes happen because somebody was in a hurry. So slow her down. You're not going to gain time usually by going real fast anyway. And the second one is the farm safety guys know what they're talking about. Do a safety audit. Just walk through what you do. Walk through it with somebody else. Grab your brother-in-law or grab your wife or your husband or one of the kids and go through stuff and see if you can make things a little bit safer. Sometimes it's equipment. Sometimes it's procedures. Sometimes it's safety equipment. There's lots of things that can be done. And in our case, one of the things we did with that seatbelt on that loader tractor, it wasn't just me using that tractor. It was my older kids using it. My wife was using it. Father-in-law was using it. I think there's always that chance that it might have saved them. Because at the end of the day, even if you don't get hurt, I'm telling you, you really don't want to go and visit somebody that you love and have to tell them that somebody that you love or they love has died. You don't want to do that. Nobody wants to have to do that. So work safe, be careful, take it a little bit slower for you, for your family members, your employees. You'll be better off. It'll save you time. You don't gain any time by going fast. Take my word for it. All right. Thank you.